Hi guys, welcome to another What I Eat in a Day. This morning I'm going to be having some rolled oats. Usually I have about a cup of oats to myself, and I usually mix that with half water, half some sort of plant-based milk, so almond milk, oat milk, soy milk, whatever you're feeling. And I always use filtered water, so I have a reverse osmosis filter in my bathroom and I fill up that container that you just saw every day, and yeah, and just put that in my oats. Today I'm using some almond milk. And then I pop that on the stove and I turn the heat right up to high and let it come to a boil, and clearly do some weird sort of dance here. And then on the side I put in some berries. This morning I'm using blueberries. I like to cook them in a separate pot because they become nice and syrupy. And while I cook, I like to sip on some water. I try and drink a litre before breakfast or around there. And then once my oats are boiling, I just turn them right down and let them simmer for a few minutes till they become creamy, and then switch them off. As you can see, my berries are getting nice and syrupy, I guess that's the word for it. I also like to add in some cinnamon or some sort of spice to my oatmeal at the end or while it's cooking, whenever really. Yeah, and then it's pretty much all done. I love adding apple onto my oatmeal lately. It just adds a really nice crunch and gives a different texture. So yeah, I'm adding berries and apple today. The last finishing touches is just some almond milk and some maple syrup, and you're good to go. That was my breakfast. Moving on to lunchtime, this is probably one of my favorite combinations at the moment. Black rice, which you all know is one of my favorites. I usually have just under a cup to myself. However, I'm cooking for Tim as well, so I just did just over 2 cups and gave it a really good wash as always. And yeah, pop that in the rice cooker with some filtered water. And while that's cooking, I move on to the sweet potato. I have 1 large sweet potato here for me and Tim. Sometimes I leave the skin on, sometimes I take it off. It really just depends on my mood, but I always try and get them organic. Then I slice them into these slices. It's my current obsession at the moment. And then just lay it onto a baking tray and pop it in the oven for about 20 minutes at 180 degrees. Tofu is definitely one of my favorites at the moment. I like to slice it up into little cubes like so, and then I pop it into a bowl and put some crushed garlic on it and also some tamari, some low sodium tamari, and then mix it around to marinate it before I'm ready to cook it. Now lately I've been liking to cook my tofu with some kale, so I take a big bunch of kale and of course wash it, and then I just take out the main part of the stem like that because the stem isn't so nice to eat, and then I chop it up nice and small because you all know how much I like things to be small when I'm cooking. Yeah, and then that's pretty much it. Just do that again to all of them. I pretty much had like a whole bunch of kale between me and Tim. Tim just likes his plain and steamed, but for mine I decided to do something a little bit more. So I took some tahini and some lemon juice and mixed it up, and then I massaged it into the kale because sometimes when you put lemon into kale or any kind of like balsamic vinegar or something, it kind of like breaks down the kale a little more and makes it digest better, and also just makes it more enjoyable to eat. And I rarely go a meal without corn, so I just peeled off some corn and gave it a wash and stuck it in a steamer to have on the side. Now time for the tofu. I put the tofu into a pan with a splash of water. A non-stick pan really helps when it comes to cooking tofu. Then I just cook the tofu for a few minutes, letting it get nice and brown before I go ahead and add the kale. Now the kale just really needs to kind of steam in there, so I just mix it around and place a lid on top until it becomes nice and soft. Once everything's cooked, I build the bowl with black rice, the tofu, the sweet potatoes, the corn, some nutritional yeast, and some hummus. I found this new brand which is oil-free. It's called SSS from Woolworths for all my Aussies. And yeah, this was my lunch, guys. It was seriously delicious. I definitely recommend you all go try it right now. So for dinner, I also opted for a bowl of pretty much all my favorite things. This time I started off with some pumpkin and also me and Tim have been eating the pumpkin seeds. We have been just scooping them out like this and giving them a really good wash, and then we just douse them in some tamari, and then we bake them, and then we snack on them while we cook, and it's like literally the best thing ever. They're so delicious. I suggest you try them. Anyway, back to the pumpkin. I just cut them into fairly large cubes and put them in the oven for about 20 minutes on 180 degrees Celsius, by the way. Then I take my tomatoes, these are kind of cherry tomatoes, give them a good wash, pop them in a pan, and I know I've showed you guys this many of times. I just pop the lid on and let the tomatoes cook and soften. Now I'm really into pak choi at the moment. It's like my favorite vegetable ever. It's so good for you. Thank you, Margot, my friend, for getting me onto it. I just chop the ends off, give them a good wash, and then chuck them in the steamer like so. Then once my tomatoes have warmed up a bit, I just add a little bit of water, give them a stir, and then pop the lid back on until they're really nice and soft. Like that, that's it, really nice and soft. And then once they're like that, I usually add in some garlic and also the black beans. I use 2 tins for both me and Tim. Make sure you wash your beans, guys, it's really important. And then this dish is pretty much done. I just let it warm through so that the beans are nice and warm, and then the pumpkin should be done, and everything is like done. Oh, I had some rice and some quinoa, so I just mixed 1 cup of rice with 1 cup of quinoa, so it's a mixture there. And I'm just making up my bowl now, so plenty of rice and quinoa. Then I pop in the bean mixture, which is like, looks so juicy. Oh, it's my favorite. I never get over this combination. And then the pumpkin, and definitely lots of pak choi. Got to get those greens in. Plus condiments. I had half an avocado with this, which was delicious. I also added on some mustard, some nutritional yeast, some pepper, and some lemon. Yum, guys, this was delicious, honestly, and really easy to make. It only took me about half an hour in total, and the more you cook, the better you get at it, so don't be daunted if it seems like a lot of steps. Also, for those of you who don't know, I have a $10 ebook full of all of my favorite recipes, so I'll link that down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!